Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to Brooklyn Watson, your space for fashion, style, healing, and self love. If you're new here, I'm so happy you found your way, and if you've been here before, thank you for being a part of the journey. Today's video is all about self love 5 behaviors I stopped doing when I truly started to love myself. If you've ever felt like you were shrinking, overdoing, or simply tired of being everything for everyone, this one's for you. This one's for us. The first behavior I stopped was people pleasing. I mean, this one ran deep, and I think it runs deep because I don't know if I'm like a natural born people pleaser or if it was a learned behavior watching the people around me be people pleasers. So it runs deep for that reason. Like, I don't know if it's naturally who I am or if it was just a learned behavior. I think for me it was a learned behavior, but it's one of those, what came first, the chicken or the egg? So I wouldn't really know. But what I do know is that I used to say yes to everything, even when my body was screaming no, even when my resources were stretched thin. I would say yes to everything, and almost to everyone. I mean, it wasn't 100% a yes across the board. Like clearly I'm here with a clear and sound mind. So there were things I said no to, like drugs, for example. But in terms of being a people pleaser, when people wanted to like hang out, or if they needed to borrow money, or maybe there's things I didn't really feel like doing. Like maybe I wasn't really up to like going out or going to a particular place or having certain people join me in what I was doing. I would still say yes, even though like I knew what my limitations were. I would ignore it. I think going along with that was also because being a people pleaser means that you don't have good boundaries, and not having good boundaries means that you're not putting yourself first. And if you're not putting yourself first, you have to question how much you truly love yourself. And in terms of like not having good boundaries, like, I would know someone was so disrespectful to me, but then I'll make excuses for their behavior in a people-pleasing way. Like, oh, maybe they just had like a rough day, or maybe, I would try to like explain their behavior away. And that's like one of the things that I stopped doing when I stepped out of people pleasing and stepped into having my own peace and respecting my own boundaries, was that like I'm not damage controlling anyone anymore. Like if I have to damage control you, oh, she's not really like that, she just had too much to drink, or like if I have to damage control you or damage control the situation, that means it's not for me, it's not aligned to my purpose and the life that I am creating for myself. So when things for me are not in alignment, the answer is a loving and graceful no. So moving on to the second behavior I stopped doing, and I really do struggle with this one a lot. I still struggle with this one a lot, but not as much as I used to. It's perfectionism. And I had to let go of perfectionism because in many ways it was keeping me stuck. For example, it will say like, don't post that, don't wear that, don't try this, don't put yourself out until it's absolutely flawless. And I think what a lot of us don't realize about perfectionism is that it is a form of procrastination, because you're not stepping out and taking that risk. You're not stepping out and you're not taking those risks because it's not perfect. And what life has taught me is that perfection is something we'll always chase because we're never going to be perfect. We weren't designed to be perfect as humans. However, I do think that we can achieve great things. We can set high standards and have great expectations for ourselves. But the concept of perfect is literally unrealistic. It's almost delusional when you think about it. And I look back sometimes at so many years of just like sitting in perfectionism and not making moves that I just in many ways wish that I was more mindful of that and not have wasted so much time in being in that space. But what I've also am learning about life is that all of those things create a great story, and all of those things put you on the path to where you're meant to be, in the right moment, in the right place, at the right time, and with the right people. So sometimes we look back at like the way we used to be and things we used to accept, and have this like shoulda, coulda, woulda about, how we could have did things differently or utilize our time more wisely, or our resources, or our relationships. But the reality is that like everything kind of falls into place for a reason. And sometimes these are lessons we have to learn in order to really step into our full power, to step into our full potential, and to be who we're really designed and destined to be. And that's something I had to learn with perfectionism. And I think the great thing now is that I'm working on so many creative projects. I have this YouTube channel. I'm getting ready to launch a second YouTube channel. I'm in the process of building up for my soft launch of my boutique, which I want to share with my subscribers here. And I hope you all love the pieces. And look, if you don't want to support in terms of buying, that's fine, but maybe you could pay it forward to someone. I am going to retail a lot of the brands that we know and love. And the great thing is that you get 10% off. Look at me, what a shameless plug. But you get 10% off your first purchase when you sign up for my emails, or our emails, I should say. And then with our referral program, when you refer a friend or and they make a purchase, you both get 20% off. So you get 20% off your next purchase, and your friend will get 20% off their purchase. So, I mean, yeah. There's free shipping on orders over a certain number. There's a flat rate shipping fee for orders under a certain number. We're dipping and doing, and I really realized that like a lot of perfectionism for most people might be a fear of failure. So they try to stay in this perfect place because they don't want to look stupid, or if they have to like make corrections or change angles or rebrand, they look at those things as failures instead of curves of learning. But what I'm learning is that perfectionism could also be a fear of success as well. Like, what if this all does go wrong? That's what. Just saying. I think sometimes like perception is everything. And when it comes to perfectionism, if we shift our mindset from celebrating our efforts instead of celebrating the results, we'll be more comfortable with taking the risks we want to take. Like that idea you have, that thing you've always wanted to do. I think we'll all like step around perfectionism and just put ourselves out there. So we celebrate our milestones and our efforts and not the results. The results will come. The results will happen. The third behavior I had to stop when I started loving myself was over apologizing. And again, for me personally, I think this was more of a learned behavior, like watching the people around me do it. So then I started doing it. Environment is very big on how it shapes us as people. And our environment is a lot. It's our families, it's our school, it's our neighborhoods. It's just the culture of maybe the city or state you live in. I'm a New York City girl, and there's just a New York City way of doing things. If you're a native New Yorker, you know. Yeah, so for me, it was the over apologizing. I was just sorry to be sorry. I was saying sorry when I didn't have to. I was saying sorry if I perceived that maybe I said something uncomfortable, or maybe I put up a boundary that someone wasn't comfortable with. Maybe I was sorry for speaking up, sorry for having my own needs, sorry for not texting back fast enough. Now I pause and I just stop myself before saying I'm sorry. And I ask, like, did I actually do something wrong? You say you're sorry when you become apologetic when there's something to apologize for. When there was wrongdoing and your whole goal of apologizing is to take accountability for your actions. And that's just the first step, because we know that true apologies come with changed behavior, which happens over time. But for the most part, I have to think back, like, stop myself and think about, like, why am I saying sorry? Am I saying sorry because I actually need to correct something that was a misunderstanding or take accountability for some sort of wrongdoing? Or am I just apologizing for being human? And if it's the latter, you're just apologizing for being human, I would just encourage you to be on the path that I'm finding myself on, and replacing sorry with thank you or some other word that, or maybe silence. Sometimes you don't have to say anything, instead of just being like overly apologetic. Let's say, for example, you're running late and you're supposed to be meeting up with a friend for whoever. And instead of saying, sorry, I'm late, that could sound like, thank you for waiting. It's subtle, but it's powerful at the same time. Because things happen. You might hit traffic. If you're like in New York City, there's like a billion things that can go wrong on the subway that prevents you from being able to get somewhere on time. Some people might have like childcare situations, or maybe their whole day just wasn't starting off right. Sometimes you don't wake up in the right place with the right energy and feel necessarily motivated to do all these great things we aspire to do. Sometimes we can kind of be a little overly ambitious if it's a thing. And instead of like apologizing for being human, instead of the sorry I'm late, it's the thank you for waiting. Next and fourth behavior that I stopped doing when I started loving myself was dimming to fit in. And by dimming to fit in, I mean like downplaying my dreams, my talent, downplaying my wins in terms of my achievements, just to make others comfortable. But shrinking doesn't serve anyone. I'm a well-accomplished woman, and I don't talk about my accomplishments because I kind of feel like I just live them. I don't have to like brag about them in a sense, but at the same time, like, sometimes people are like, highlight yourself, and I'm like, oh, no, I don't do much. I'm just, like, I think more and more and more as I get opportunities to highlight myself, that is what I will do. I think, in spite of all of the things I had to stop doing to loving myself better, I've always been a risk taker and someone who's just a lifelong learner. So because of that combination, I've been able to have some really amazing like life experiences and done some really cool things and worked for some really awesome people. Like when I did Fashion Week with Victoria Beckham, and I worked for the people that production-wise, the people that like built sets for runways, like for major brands. Something I don't talk about enough. Not saying I have to talk about it, like how cool is that? I got to work for my favorite Spice Girl in a fashion industry. I mean, and like mega fashion, not like, well, I don't want to compare brands, but this is like all the top tier things that people would dream to do, and I got that just like, taking a risk, for example. Like anyway, I'll probably tell that story in another video on another day in a different story time. But it was just a great experience, being a leader in my community, being the chair of a committee and a chair of my committee where I liaise between the committee and city officials and elected officials, doing what I do for work in my full-time reality, being an entrepreneur, whether it comes to YouTube or creating my boutique. I go to college and haven't graduated twice. I just really honor my acknowledgments, and I don't have to shout them out to the world, but I'm not going to pretend like they didn't happen, especially because I worked so hard for these things. Sleepless nights, long days, things that I would never regret because it's a part of my journey. But being that they are a part of my journey, I'm not going to act like they did not happen. So the whole idea of dimming to fit in, if you have a big personality, I don't know why I'm thinking about Tamar Braxton, but if you have like a big, larger than life personality and you're finding yourself like whispering or toning down your voice or toning down your energy to make those around you comfortable, it's definitely something you have to reflect in yourself. And also look at the people around you. If you're being made to feel that way for who you are, you might have to just reassess your tribe and find better people. Just find better people. Definitely had to do that in this journey. So yes, I did that. Yes, I'm proud. You don't have to shrink to shine. Your light might actually inspire other people and someone else to glow as well. And just to be proud of everything that they've accomplished, even if it's getting their driver's license. Like, every accomplishment we make, everything we have on our list, if we scratch it off and get it done from grocery shopping to doing that mud mask, to whatever. Like this month I'm going to go to 3 of my children's games, soccer games, like whatever it is that you've achieved and accomplished, like big up yourself, like do not dim to fit in. And my 5th behavior, last but definitely not least, was tolerating unhealthy. This can span from like people I've dated to friends who were just toxic and just not for me, and even some family relationships. I just stopped altogether tolerating unhealthy relationships. I began loving myself more and realizing that I deserve peace and not chaos. Sometimes when we remove the drain in our lives, we realize that, you know what, without this person or these people, I don't really have drama. Without this person or these people, I actually do make enough money. Without this person or these people, I can just be myself. So I started to set boundaries and let go of relationships that felt draining, that drained me, that made me feel like I had to be on the defense all the time, or even relationships that made me question my own value and self-worth. It wasn't easy, I'll definitely say that, but every time I chose myself, my world got a whole lot lighter. Real love from friends, partners, or families doesn't require you to abandon yourself. And it's tricky because sometimes, especially in the dynamic of family, you're told to just keep the peace and stay silent and don't, ignore things. And it's just like, no, like, I'm not going to ignore my mental clarity and my peace of mind that I deserve just because I breathe air at the expense of making other people feel comfortable being a hot mess. It's just not happening. So I share that to just say onto you that it doesn't matter the title. If it doesn't bring you peace, if it's out of alignment, I'm not saying it's gone. You have to like dismiss it forever. But until it falls into alignment and until it brings you peace, it's just gracefully a no thank you. A no thank you. These are the 5 things I stopped doing, and in letting them go, I made more space for myself. If you're in the middle of a self-love journey, or if you're thinking about getting started, I want you to know that it is okay. It's okay to be where you're at, and it's okay if things take time, and it's okay if you fall back into old habits and then want to start again. The process is never simple, it's never easy, but as long as you're on the path, you will succeed. You deserve a life that feels like home and not a performance, and you deserve to just have peace, 100%, and resources. You can't have people draining your resources or using you for them. So with that, we've reached the end of our video. Let me know in the comments, what is one behavior you're working on letting go of in your self-love journey? And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who might need it today. You are worthy, you are light, you are loved. See you next time and stay effortlessly chic. Ciao.